It had been one of those weeks that seemed to stretch endlessly, leaving me emotionally drained. I stood by the kitchen window of our suburban home, staring at the fading sunlight casting streaks of orange across the sky. My husband, Daniel, had been unusually distant, and though I tried to pretend everything was fine, my heart carried the weight of unspoken words. Marriage was never simple, and ours had gone through seasons of both laughter and silence. But lately, silence had taken over. I wrapped my hands around a warm mug of coffee and tried to remind myself that Daniel loved me, even if he had a hard time showing it. He was a good man, responsible and kind, but often so wrapped up in work and his own thoughts that I felt invisible. My name is Emily, and though I never imagined my story would twist the way it did, life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. That evening, Daniel came into the living room with a furrowed brow. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, his glasses sliding down the bridge of his nose. "Emily," he said, his tone heavier than usual. "We need to talk." My stomach tightened. Those 4 words, "we need to talk," never led to anything easy. I set down my coffee and turned to face him, bracing myself. Before Daniel could say more, the doorbell rang. The chime echoed through the house, breaking the heaviness of the moment. I frowned, not expecting anyone at this hour. Daniel looked irritated, but went to open the door. Standing there were 2 familiar faces, Michael, my older brother's childhood friend who had always felt like family, and Jordan, a colleague from a community project I had been working on. Both men looked serious, though their presence radiated a strange kind of comfort. "Hey, Emily," Michael said gently, his sandy blonde hair falling over his forehead. "We thought we should stop by. You seemed off the other day." Jordan nodded in agreement. "We wanted to check on you, just to be sure you're okay." Daniel's expression hardened as he looked from them to me. "What's this about?" he demanded. His voice wasn't angry, but it carried suspicion. I felt caught between worlds, my husband's guarded eyes and the 2 men who had shown up with genuine concern. My throat tightened as tears pricked the back of my eyes. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to simply notice. Michael stepped forward, his tone respectful. "Daniel, we're not here to intrude. We're here because we care about Emily. She's been strong, but sometimes strong people need someone to stand beside them." Daniel's jaw clenched. He was a man who prided himself on being the sole protector in my life, and seeing 2 others step into that role unsettled him. He folded his arms tighter, his stance rigid. I whispered, "Daniel, please just listen." The room seemed to shrink as tension filled the air. My heart pounded in my chest, torn between wanting Daniel to understand and appreciating the compassion from Michael and Jordan. For the first time in months, I felt like someone truly saw me. Jordan broke the silence. "Emily told me once, during our project meetings, that she sometimes feels like she's carrying too much alone. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you, Daniel. It just means she needs more than silence. She needs to be heard." I saw Daniel's face soften slightly, though his pride still held him back. "So, what, you 2 think you know my wife better than I do?" His voice cracked faintly. Michael shook his head. "No. We're just reminding you of what she deserves. She deserves to feel supported." And in that moment, something inside me broke. Tears spilled down my cheeks, and I whispered, "I just needed you to see me, Daniel." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Daniel's expression shifted, confusion, hurt, then realization. He looked at me, really looked, for the first time in a long while. The 2 men didn't stay much longer. Their presence had done what it needed to, forcing the silence between Daniel and me to shatter. Before leaving, Michael placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You're not alone, Emily. Don't forget that." That night, Daniel and I sat in the living room long after the house had grown quiet. For the first time in months, he opened up about his stress, his fears of failing me, his inability to express himself. And I told him about my loneliness, my longing for him to step into the silence with me. It wasn't easy. Tears flowed, voices cracked, but healing began. Weeks later, Daniel invited both Michael and Jordan over for dinner. It was his way of saying thank you, of acknowledging that sometimes Strength comes not from standing alone, but from allowing others to stand with you. At the dinner table, laughter slowly replaced tension. The four of us shared stories, jokes, and moments of understanding. And for the first time in a long while, I felt whole again. Because what those two men did in front of my husband wasn't about replacing him. It was about reminding us both that love needs support, and sometimes it takes others to help us see what's right in front of us. That night, as I looked out the window at the city lights glittering in the distance, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. And though the journey wasn't perfect, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be.